Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center, man. So I'm gonna get straight to the business with this video. So we all know what has been a stigma going around about Philadelphia, and that's they can't pass the ball. Jalen Hurts can't pass the ball. He can't throw the ball deep. That's been the biggest stigma. So I'm sitting here watching. I was watching the Football Life with Nick Saban, and Nick Saban was just talking about how you win games, and the games that you win, they're probably not in the most pleasurable manner. But most of the time, if you're able to win, the players and the coaches are just like, man, we made it through that game. So it's more so that we survived, that we actually dominated the game. So I got to thinking. And I was like, so I was going to pull up stats, which I did pull up stats. And I pulled up, league leaders in terms of passing this year. And, Jalen Hurts is pretty low on that list. I think he might have only threw like 18 touchdowns and I think like five interceptions. So his turnover ratio is good. So it made me get to thinking. And I was listening to, I was watching Speak earlier, and I was looking at LaShawn McCoy, and they go back and forth about, the Commanders game with Jalen Hurts. And, LaShawn McCoy was like, one thing I can say about Jalen Hurts, and he was like, and it's one of those things that you can't measure. It's no statistic for this. There's no league leaders for this, and that's hard. And I was like, yeah, one thing about it, we do know that Jalen Hurts can fight through adversity. Look at the situation he dealt with from going from Alabama to Oklahoma. And it's like that right there could have been a breaking situation for most people, but he was able to make do. So you see that he does have a level of resilience. And then you look at the record and you say, okay, these guys aren't one game away from the Super Bowl by accident. It was things that was done right over the course of the season, but it might have been other areas that we may not have asked enough questions about. So if you look at this clip right here, it's the highlights that's playing. These was a few plays that was made over the course of the season, more so the beginning. And I'm looking at a lot of explosive plays. Now, here's the thing. These plays, you got to look at the situations in which they was made. So these probably were gotta have it moments where it was like, okay, we need something to happen. Let's go and let's believe in Hurts, and Hurts gonna make do. And he's making that do with just his arm alone. So you gotta take that in consideration. But then also, like I had been saying with people, and I heard Shady attest to this too. If we're playing, say for instance, we're the Eagles, right? We're the second best. Well, no, we're the first best. Actually, Baltimore was behind them. We're the first best in terms of rushing this year, right? So if you look at rushing yards, running backs in terms of Barkley, the other running back, and you look at Hurts, that's what they have been dicing people up with over the season. Even when you look back at the playoffs, the game against the Rams, Jalen Hurts started the game off with a 40-some yard touchdown run off a broken tackle, right? And then you look at what Saquon Barkley done. So you say, okay, if we're doing this, just running the ball, that's possibly 21 points right there. So why would we stray away from that? And y'all cannot stop it, If you can't stop the run as a defense, right, and we going up, say for instance with the Commanders, and we playing the Eagles, and we cannot stop the run. If we cannot stop the run, we never get a hold to that game, and more times than not, we're probably going to lose that game because consistently running the ball wears the defense down, but then it also keeps the offense on the sideline, and that prevents them from being able to get into routine because we know everything is routine based in sports, whether it's football, boxing, basketball. A lot of stuff is based off of routines. And if we're not out there enough to get some type of rhythm going offensively and they're getting stops because the Eagles do have a good defense, that could be a not so pleasant day for us. So you got to take those things into consideration. It's like, if I'm so dominant at this, why should I switch up? Prime example, we're going to switch over to the UFC. If you guys are familiar with the UFC, look at Khabib. Khabib's style of play, style of fighting, it might not be so pleasant to the casual eye, but to the pugilist's eyes is beauty, because you see a guy that's just so far advanced than everyone else when it comes to this aspect of the fighting game. And this aspect of the fighting game, for the most part, is a deciding factor, a very crucial deciding factor in a lot of fights. So why would I go against that and try to stand up and beat a fighter that's more skilled than me standing in a hand-to-hand fight? That puts me at a disadvantage. Why should I stop what I'm doing just because you can't stop it? So now you do have questions to say, okay, cool. You got to take into consideration too with the passing. Being that the Eagles are so successful running the ball, how many times were they actually playing from behind? Because when you're playing from behind, now you can't really solely rely, depending on how far behind you fall and the timing of the game, but you can't really rely so heavily on the run because you got to try to get some plays, some explosive plays to move those sticks because, time is of the essence. You don't want to rush it, but then you don't want to take too long to try to score, and you end up scoring and the just time run out on you. Or you try to stay committed to this and it's not working. Now you find yourself in a fourth and long or whatever the case may be. So you got to take those things into consideration. How many games were they playing from behind, right? So once you look at that, you look at that. How many games were they playing from behind? So you look at the games where Jalen Hurts was hurt. I think he missed 2 games this year. I know he went out in the Commanders game, and I think he missed the next one after that. So and those injuries play a part of not being in the game. And then sometimes it's just some games, man, you're just not able to really lock into the rhythm. Some games you just overthrow AJ Brown or Devontae Smith, or you underthrow them. Some games they wide open and you put the ball on the money and they drop it. So a lot of that is things that you have to factor into it. And I think this is the first year with that offensive coordinator. So it's differences between coaches. It's different standards, expectations, and different ways of execution. So you have to take all those things into consideration. Now, you can say, okay, let's look at it and why weren't we able to put up more yards passing? Because I'm pretty sure there are questions there. Now, most coaches and most players aren't going to really dive that deep into it. That comes with the obsessive guys like, prime example, Nick Saban. That's the guy I'm giving you an example and made me think about that situation. So everybody's not going to look at it like that, though. So unfortunately, sometimes it takes you having to lose because of that before people evaluate it. But that's why Saban has a saying, and he says that if you play a bad game and you still win, he's like, that's not a good thing, because now just surviving and just winning was enough. So now you bypass everything that you did wrong and identify and try to correct it for the next game. And those bad habits starts to develop. So now when you run up on a team who is, just as good as you get the brakes beat off of you, because you were able to slide by with this team who was less than, so you was able to make mistakes and still ease by. But you run up on a team that you can't afford to make mistakes with. Now you end up getting exposed. And that can be a situation with the Eagles and the Commanders. Only time will tell on that, but I didn't want to go too long into that. I kind of just wanted to give my little brief take on that while I was thinking about it and while I had it fresh on my mind, because that was something I just been waiting to make a video about. And like I said, I was going to go pull up his statistics in terms of, stats. You can go do that yourself, but he's at the bottom in terms of quarterbacks. But when you look at the fact, one of the things that he do lead a lot of those guys in is wins and being 1 game away from the Super Bowl. So that's ultimately what really matters. Now, like I said, in terms of the passing, yeah, they're probably going to have to be able to pass the ball at some point, because you just never know what the Commanders' game plan is. You're going up against Dan Quinn, one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. So you got to take that into consideration. So the question mark is, why haven't we, and can we hit on those plays that really matter? You know what I mean? So, and another thing too, you can't doubt Jalen Hurts, just like Shady was saying, because at the end of the day, he's going to find some way to win, whether it be via his legs, whether it be via his arm, whether it be via giving the ball to, Saquon, and he have to do, go and block to free up Saquon. But that's just the competitor he is. So when you're dealing with a guy that has that passion for the game, you can't never really ever count them out. But, I just want to kind of touch you on that with you guys. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. If it's anything that I missed on, or if it's anything that you agree with, or if it's anything that you agree with me on, but you just feel like I missed that, feel free to do that. I look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments. But like I said, man, that's it for this video, man. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, click that post notification bell. That way you be notified. And I'll see y'all in the next video.